In November 2021, I had the opportunity to speak at a TEDx event in Vancouver, Canada, so I felt extra pressure to do well. In fact, I was so nervous about it that I didn't sleep for 2 days prior. But all of that hard work paid off because the talk went really well. But even though I thought it went really well, it wasn't perfect. And there were definitely some things that I could have done better. So here are 6 things that I learned from my TED Talk. TED does not pay speakers, whether you're Stephen Hawking, Bill Gates, or someone else, but they cover travel expenses and accommodation. However, speakers are expected to cover the cost of getting to and from the Red Dot, which is where the actual TED Talk stage is located. I flew into Vancouver the night before my talk and stayed at a hotel near the venue. The next day I got up bright and early, got dressed, had breakfast, and took a cab to the venue. I'm still not quite sure where the Red Dot is, but when I walked into the Green Dot, which is where the speaker's waiting room is, I knew I was in the right place. Traffic can be unpredictable, and I ended up arriving just 10 minutes before my talk started. Typically, TED asks speakers to arrive 30 minutes before their talk. I made it to the Green Dot, but I barely made it in time, and I would have liked to have had more time to prepare mentally. There are camera operators, lighting technicians, sound technicians, and even a team of medical professionals who were stationed near the speaker's podium just in case something went wrong. The hardest part of being a TED speaker is probably having to stand on one single spot on the stage. The entire time, you re-talking. Normally when I give a presentation, I like to walk around and I encourage the audience to ask questions along the way. I did try to move around a bit, but it was difficult to do so without drawing attention to myself. Instead of moving around, I could have simply sat down. There were chairs on either side of the podium that were used for the Q&A portion of the talk. But since I wasn't doing any questions from the audience, I ended up just standing up the entire time. Sitting down would have helped me connect more with the audience, and I think it would have made the talk feel more conversational. Another thing I might do differently is to bring a bottle of water on stage with me. I drank a lot of water before my talk to make sure I wouldn't get dry mouth, but I forgot to bring a bottle on stage with me. I should have brought a bottle of water on stage with me and taken a few sips during the talk rather than constantly taking sips from a glass of water. I tried to memorize my entire talk, but it ended up not going according to plan. Generally speaking, I don't like to use notes when I give talks. But for this one, I did print out a couple of keywords to make sure I stayed on track. I practiced the talk a number of times, and each time I was able to remember everything without looking at my notes. I had a terrible cold and a fever, which definitely affected my memory. So when I arrived at the venue, I decided to read through my notes one last time before going on stage. Luckily, I was able to recover and remember what I was supposed to talk about, but I almost completely blanked on stage. This was definitely a scary experience for me, but it taught me the importance of having a plan B. When things do go according to plan. It might have been a good idea for me to have a couple of bullet points on a note card instead of just a few keywords. That way I could have referred to my notes if I needed to. Although it was very stressful, it also taught me to trust myself and my ability to speak off the cuff. Before I went on stage, I checked the clicker and made sure everything was working properly. I also did a test run with the clicker and one of the TED staff members to make sure I could advance the slides. I was worried that my talk was going to go well, because I had lost control of the presentation. Luckily, I was able to fix the issue and the rest of the talk went smoothly. I was surprised by how many things could go wrong, even with all of the planning and preparation that goes into a TED Talk. All of the organizers and staff were amazing, and I felt well taken care of throughout the entire process. In fact, everyone at TED was so nice that I left feeling energized and inspired. Though I was nervous before my talk, once I started speaking, I instantly felt a connection with the audience. They were engaged and attentive, and I felt their energy throughout the entire talk. Even though I stumbled a couple of times, overall, I think the talk went well, and I received positive feedback from the TED team. I was even told that I could submit my talk to be a main TED Talk. That would be an incredible honor, and I'm excited to see what the future brings. One of the best parts of the TED Talk is the opportunity to share your ideas with the world. My goal with my talk was to inspire young women to pursue their interests in math. If you haven't seen the talk yet, you can watch it online. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.